Okay, so a join is a pretty simple concept. You're just combining a table on one side with a table on the other side. In Excel, this is when you would use like a VLOOKUP to look up some data based on a key, like a name or a user ID, and then retrieve some other data that matches that. But SQL gives you the ability to be a lot more specific about how you join, on what conditions you join, and what results you return. So the easiest way to think about it is with Venn diagrams. So the most common join is an inner join. So you're saying, I want all the results from table A and table B that are matching on my whatever my condition is. So I'll give you an example of that. The second most common one we do is a left join. So you're saying, I want all the stuff from this, but I also want to get this detail from table B. Yeah. And then less common one is a full outer join, where it's like, I want all the detail from both A and B, regardless of how they match up. And then these other ones you can ignore for now. Don't need to make it too complicated. So let's just do a simple join. So I'll show you what I mean. It's much easier to just do it. So we have two tables here. We've got, so let's do select star from patients, and that's our patient table. And then we have our province names. So we'll do select star from province names. If you try and run two at once, it won't work. So you'll either have to, let's see if this works. There we go. So if you end the statement here, it'll just run the one that you have selected. So I can click here again, run this one, click here. Nope. Oh, no, it's just running the first one. Okay, so just select your SQL and then run it. All right, so here are all the province names. And then here are all the patients. So we can actually do our first question here. So show the first name. No, I want to do a different one. Here we go. So we're going to get the first name, last name, and the full province name of each patient. Well, let's start with the data we do have from this table. So we've got first name, last name, and the province ID. Now, we don't have the province name. That is going to be in our province names table. Let's look at that again. Select star from province names. And for good measure, we don't know if there's a billion province names or not. If it's a small table, that's fine like this, but do limit 100, just to take it easy on our database. And we can see we've got our province ID and our province name. So what is the relationship between these two tables? It is this province ID. So you can see here that the province of Alberta is connected to the patient's table using this province ID. So ON on this table is right here, Ontario. Now what we would like to see instead of ON is we would like to see the name of Ontario as well, or instead of this. So how do we join these two things together? Well, we can do what's called an inner join. Well, yeah, we'll start with an inner join. So inner join province names table. So that we're going to inner join the province names table on province names dot, this is how you reference the column, province ID, because so that's the name of this column here. So we're going to say we're going to join these two columns together, or these two tables together, on the province ID, and on this table we're going to have it be patients dot province ID. So fortunately for us, to have the exact same name, you'll see here it says ambiguous column name, because now that these two tables are combined, it's not sure which province ID you're asking for. Are you asking for the province ID from the patient's table or from the province names table? So we can say patients dot province ID. Run that, and well, what's different? All of our data is exactly the same. Well, that's because we haven't selected any columns from the table we joined. So we can say where province, or select province names dot province name, and run that. And there you go. We've joined these two tables together. We have all the data from the original table plus the province name from the table we joined together. Okay, and we can also do a left join. Now, in this case, if I run this, the results are going to be exactly the same. Why is that the case? Because if we go back to our chart here, here we're doing an inner join. Now, if both of these have the exact same information, then no data is going to be excluded. It's going to look exactly like this. So hope that makes sense. You'll get a feel for it the more you do joins and stuff. And we'll do some examples next of tables that don't join nicely. Okay, so that's how we do a join. And now we can just say the province names only, and the join is on the province ID, but we don't have to mention the province ID in our final results. We can just say first name, last name, and province name. Excellent. And we got the question right. Okay, I wanted to do a simple example so you can kind of visualize what's happening when we do table joins. So here's our table on the left, the patients table, and here's our table on the right, the province table. When we're doing a left join, what we're basically doing is we're saying, all right, we're gonna take this table on the left, and then we're gonna look up, based on this ID, all the information in this other table. So in Excel, we would use a VLOOKUP or an XLOOKUP, so I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna say province name, and then XLOOKUP. For this, using the array this, and then return this. Great, so when I'm bad at Excel. There we go. Okay, so basically all it's doing is it's pulling, when you're selecting these three columns and then this column from the second table, this is what happens when you do a left join. Now what happens if Nova Scotia isn't in this table? Well, you're going to have a missing value, but this row will still be here. So this is a left join. And this would just be null in SQL. Now, what if you inner join these two tables instead? Well, you get all this information, and then it would still kind of look up the tables for you. So it would still look up the data, but if there's a null, it's just gonna remove it. So that's an inner join. So an inner join is a great tool because it allows you, it's also dangerous, but it's a great tool because it allows you to do filtering in your joins. So you can exclude results that don't match before you have to do any where clauses. But it's also dangerous because you might accidentally filter out important rows that you care about, which is why I recommend you usually use a left join for things, unless you're explicitly trying to do filtering. If you are trying to do filtering, then by all means use an inner join, but just remember, if this province doesn't have a value in this table, instead of looking it up for you, or at least trying to look it up, it's just going to remove the whole row. So this whole row is just gone. And let's do that again with Ontario as a different example. So if we are, we have these two province IDs, and we're trying to look up Nova Scotia and Ontario, but Ontario doesn't exist with a left join. Oh, why did that work? Oh yeah, because I'm still bad at Excel. So in SQL, this will be null, and it will only return Nova Scotia. So this is great because it tells us, okay, there's a problem with this table, but that's it. So that's a left join. And again, if you do an inner join, it is going to only give you this row. So you're going to look up all this stuff, and then you're going to be like, what? There's no data. Where to go? Because you're actually doing a filter using the province column, using the province ID column between these two tables. And if there's not a match, it's going to remove the rows. So if there's not a match on this table, it's just going to only show you the rows that match up. So that's why I usually recommend you do this, which is you get all the rows from your first table, and then you add on the data that does show up from the other table. So that's the difference between a left join and a inner join. So this was the simplest way I could think of visualizing it, but you'll get a feel for it once you do some SQL and make that mistake. But rule of thumb, use a left join. Now, one more helpful thing here. This is kind of a lot. So we're going to do what's called an alias. We're going to rename, we're basically going to rename these tables. So we're going to say patients as P, and then province names as PN. And now when we reference these tables, you can say, I want to join these two tables together on P dot province ID equals PN dot province ID. So this is a shorter, more readable way to do the exact same thing. And again, instead of saying patients dot province ID, we can just say P. These are all P dot columns. Now, ignore that. So since we're doing the join and we got the province information, we can, instead of referencing just the patient province ID, we want to reference the new PN dot province name column. Run that, and here you go. There's the province names. And again, if Nova Scotia wasn't in that table and you're doing a left join, this would just be null. But if you're doing an inner join and Nova Scotia is missing, then it would only show you Ontario rows. So again, just remember that when you're doing your filtering or your joins.